Hi guys, and welcome to Angling For You Back to Basics. And today join me in my mum and dad's back garden, actually, not in my own. And what we're going to do is very briefly have a look through a little bit of terminal tackle that I've got towards the autumn season, but would get you going on various few methods. Each thing we're just going to touch on, but we're not going to actually go into too much until we tackle each area as we go through the Back to Basics series, because there's little mini videos that need to be talked around each area of this a little bit more than just doing the odd one. So pole fishing is what we'll start on first. Now there's hundreds and hundreds of types of what they call patterns, sizes, weights, shapes of floats that do various different jobs. Now most really good commercial anglers will tell you that they only use a very few patterns, because it's so complex and so confusing. They just find what works well for them and go with that, and I'm pretty much similar to that in regards to, I know what I like to fish in open water, I know what I like to fish down the edge, I know what I like to fish for paste, and I know what I like to fish for shallow. So I don't really go further than that into it. I have a lot of new different floats to have a look at. Now, as you all know, I use ProGen floats and have done for at least 2 or 3 years now. But I get edged quite frequently to have a look at what's commercially available, because years ago, as we all know, commercial made floats were not that great. Balsa wood, and the eyes would pull out, the stems would pull out, you know, things would just not balance properly. But they've come on so much, and I'm quite excited actually to try out several of the new ones. So I've, as you can see, gone all in, as you always do, and I've got a massive selection. Really, that's just a little bunch of what I've got in front of me of different types, and I've got majority of the selection, I'll be honest, because I've liked the look of them, are the Preston range. I've got some of the Des ship ones, some of the standard Preston ones. There's a couple of 3 gurus thrown in there as well, and we will do a video on those and how and why we use those moving forward. But the first thing is, if you're needing your terminal tackle, is if you are wanting to fish on a pole, is pole floats, especially if you're going to want to make it yourself, which I do suggest you doing and learning, as it's just an important thing. Because if you're fishing and your pole rig breaks, you're going to need to know how to fix it or get another one, or how to retie it. So really important to do that. So when you go to a tackle shop, they usually would able to advise you. Most floats, for example, I'm just going to pick one at random if I can. So I've got one here, and this is an F1 pellet. This is a Preston F1 pellet, and this one has got a wire, what they call a wire stem. So this is the stem, this is the body, and this is the tip. And this one is, as you can see, an orange tip, quite a tall tip, a nice wire stem, and a really nice thick body. And this is what it says, 4x16s. So that's the weight as which you're going to put onto the float itself. And this one is quite a long float, quite a lot of body. The more body means more buoyancy, meaning that you're more likely to use that in deeper water, and stable, to keep it stable. Wire stems are really good for keeping it stable. So it's really important that you go through these things when you're at a shop. If you're unsure, for example, this is a paste float, and you see the difference, and that's to do with the bristle, and it's got obviously a little hoop at the top where you can run the line through, and that's a paste 1 Preston float. And you see the difference is completely different, and that's because it's just in the different way and method that you would fish it. So I don't want to delve into that just on this video, but that is one thing you need to look at, is a pole float. But along with that, you will obviously need some line. So you have your main lines that you use on your reels. These are 100 meter spools. These ones the Power Micron from Matrix, and I've got various different ones. I use the Progen Genpro line, a Guru Engage line, I've got Preston Reflow Power line, but lately I've been using this Matrix Power Micron because it's quite stiff, and there's not much sag in it, which I just really like, and it's difficult to see in the water, and it is monofilament. I just really like that, and they have different grades, which is based on the 0.millimeter or a pound or a kilo on these ones. So when you're looking at them, you'll see this one, for example, says 0.14 mil, 4.5 pound or a 2 kilo. That's just giving you an average guide of the pressure that can take. Now when you're fishing for smaller fish, you can make these smaller. If you're fishing for bigger fish, you need to be going for a higher number. It's as simple as that. There's no simpler way of looking at it. If I was doing a standardized rig for autumn carp fishing, that's why there's an 016 and an 014. 014 would be my hook link, 016 would be my main line. It's as simple as that. I usually go two steps lower for my hook link. That means that the hook link will break before any main line or any poles or any elastics give way. So that's really important to do, to balance. Like there's loads. I've got everything up from 0.11 right to 0.22 for the various different types of fishing. So that is really important to make hook links, but also to do your actual rigs. So moving on to hooks, as you can see, I've got loads here. And the two that I've just bought at the moment is I've had a few issues with the normal hooks that I use, and I've gone for a stronger, and these are a Super XS Guru hooks, and these are for paste. Now again, we're going to do some filming on my hooks, so then we can go into what they're used for. Now, because there's again so many, but effectively when you're learning to fish, you want to be looking for an eyed hook. So an eyed hook means exactly that. It's got a little circle eye, not a spade end. It makes it easier for you to tie and learn to tie, a lot easier than trying to do it on what they call a spade end. Really easy and really simple. So they're hooks. Like I say, at the moment it's an outline, and then we'll definitely get into it. Another thing is a lubricant for elastics. Now really important that every couple of sessions you just put a little bit down the top, a little bit down the side, so you've got nice stretch and it's looking after your elastic, and it's effectively just like greasing your doors at home. It just helps with the longevity of whatever you're using. Moving on to shots. So shots are effectively a weight. You've got a float, you need weight to pull that down, so then you can just see the right amount of bristle. The simplest way to think of it is the lower the number, the bigger the shot. The higher the number, the smaller the shot, and that's exactly the same in hooks. The bigger the number, the smaller the hook is. The lower the number, the bigger the hook is, and that's the easiest way to remember. Usually from 12 to 8, they're what you're going to be using on a pole rig. Anything above that, or lower in this case, in number, will be used for wagglers and things like that, as obviously pole floats are a little bit more delicate and you usually use smaller shot. Now there's differences as well between shot and stots, they're called, or in this case this is called a slot. Now a slot or a stot, from what Preston started to do with them for years and gone past, are a cylindrical type of cylinder shaped weight with a little line through it. You push them onto your line and press them on or bite them on. If you were to get a normal standard shot, they're circle shaped, a bit more fiddly to get on, but they also do ping off. Which I mean by that is when your line's taut and it sometimes gets on a fin or a branch, it can fire those off and you lose your weights. These stay on a lot easier, and the various manufacturers do their own versions of it. These are just a MIDI one that I've got here. And finishing it off on the old pole front are ready-made hook links. Now every brand does these, and again these are aimed at pole fishing. They've got different size hooks and weight of line, on there, and it just gives you a good indication. Now, the reason I say these are pole fishing is because they're 6 inch in length, and majority of hook links that you use on a feeder would be around 4 or less inches, unless you're using like a cage feeder or anything like that, but most would be smaller. So these 6 inch ones are aimed at for pole fishing. Obviously these are all banded, so they're aimed at using harder pellets or sort of anything really that's bandable. And yeah, in fact I will show you them, just show you them a little bit closer up, and you can see that, you know, it gives you the information at the bottom. Nice little breakdown. It explains on the back there what they go with and what they can be used for. Just an essential part of your kit really, and that's there. The only thing that's really missing is some float rubbers that go on the actual floats. Other than that, you've got most things to start pole fishing. The additional thing would be a plummet, which are like a little bell weight with a little bit of cork or neoprene foam in the bottom, which is thread onto your line and hook into so you could put it in to the water, and you'd able to measure the depth. That's what a plummet is, but again, when we're on a box, we'll go into it and show you. So feeders we went through on the last video, but MIDI do this nice little compactor kit, Preston do them, Matrix do them, Guru do them, and effectively you've got a mould, a feeder and a bead, everything you need to get going for feeder fishing, and you've got already have your hooks and your line to tie your hook links, so you're good to go there. And again, we'll go into that a little bit later on in its own video. Another little essential one when carp fishing are these little pellet wagglers. Now there's loads of different brands again. The pellet wagglers, these are little stubby ones that land in the water really easily. These are different, 3 different weights. You can use them with pellets, you can use them with bread, you know, maggot, whatever you want. 3 SSG, 2 SSG and 1 SSG. SSG is a big circle shot, so you don't have to use that. You could just use some of the stots, that's no problems. And again, they're for casting at distance and for fishing up in the water. And again, we'll go on a video when it gets to it. So there's a lot of stuff I'm going through here, and I know that you can ask questions, and that's great. But everything we've done here, we will cover individually to make it a little bit easier. Catapult, nice and simple. You can use maggots or pellets, corn, whatever you want to fire out. A little bit of a guide with this is, the thinner the elastic and the thinner the pouch, the easier it is to pull, the less distance it's going to go, and for lighter objects, the heavier, thicker, bigger pouches is obviously going to be for the bigger objects. As simple as that. That's a MIDI one. I've got Preston, Daiwa, Guru, I've got all sorts of different ones for different things. And the last one I'm going to finish on is a pole, knot and picker and disgorger. Now I've not used one of these before, although they've been around a long time. And the idea around this is that a disgorger is this side, and you effectively run your line through it, and the hook stays in it. When you push it into the fish's mouth, the hook will stick in it, you pull it out, you've got your hook. This end is a super sharp pointed needle effectively, and that can get into any of those little tight knots that you get with lighter lines, and allow you to pick out those and effectively rescue your rig before it gets in an absolute tangle. So hopefully this will just give you a little step into a few terminal tackle things. Like I said, with the hooks, just look at eyed hooks. Most hooks are very self-explanatory. They'll tell you if they're a feeder hook, they'll tell you if they're an F1 hook, they'll tell you if they're a maggot hook or a soft pellet hook. You know, they're pretty substantial nowadays. Turn them over, have a look at the back. Just make sure you go for eyed and barbless if you're fishing commercial fisheries. If you're fishing venues that are open waters or natural venues, canals, rivers, and you can use the barbed or micro barbed, which is like a little sort of barb on the side of the tip of the hook. But you know, just take your time in the shop, have a little look. If you've got any problems, just get in touch with me and I can point you in the right direction. So hopefully this has helped you out. If you want to going out on any of the new playlists, we're trying to pull some together for different things, then have a look. And obviously if you want to join the main Angling For You group, then hop across if you look on the channel, there's a link straight across to the Big Boy channel. But this one is staying all about the back to basics and the simplicity of getting started in fishing. So hopefully this will help you out. And then until the next one, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you could like, share and subscribe, that'd be fantastic. Until the next one, tight lines.